Hey, welcome back to my watercolor video log. My name's Kendra, and I put together this watercolor video log as a way to get myself painting every day or maybe every other day, and also as inspiration to you if you need to get an idea. So today I'm doing a project from Jean Haines' Paint Yourself Calm book. And if you happen to have this book, I looked on page 50 and I'm trying it out in a little bit of a different way. So you can see the colors that I've chosen. They are French Ultramarine, which is a single pigment PB29, that's Winsor & Newton color, and then the Quin Gold, which is not a single pigment. By the way, it's not a single pigment because they no longer create this color for the automotive industry, and so they stopped doing that some years back. And so that color, Quin Gold, is now a combination of 3 pigments. So anyway, I have those, and I have my candles. I just use cheap candles as a wax resist. You can also use those circles. You can also use oil pastel, or you can use a frisket or some kind of a masking fluid. But for today, I wanted it to be quick and dirty, so I just put on some candles, some little cheap birthday candles. And you can see how it resists the color right there. It's resisting that French ultramarine. I decided to try this today because my usual approach is to draw something realistic and then try to make it more abstract. But I had a very nice comment from Gayla Massey, who lives in Eastern Washington, which is not so far from where I live. And she said it's interesting because she's also trained as a draftsman, and so she anyway starts abstract and then puts something realistic in at the end. So I thought, maybe I'll try that way for a time and see how it goes. So I'm putting in just these 2 colors to start, and a little bit of resist, and then you see me leaning the paper up, so I want it to run down the page. Working this way reminds me of Liz Walker. Liz Walker is an artist here in Portland, Oregon, and she came to one of our watercolor groups once. We paid her to come and do a class for us. And so she came in with a pile of images of sidewalk cracks, like cracked up sidewalks. And she said, first draw the cracks of these sidewalks on your paper, and then look at them and think, what could this be? What could I make this into? Like a bird, or do you see a figure there? And I thought that was so interesting, and ever since then I really admire the cracks in the sidewalk, especially the ones that have some moss growing in them, very interesting shapes. And sometimes I even take pictures of the cracks in sidewalks, just my little homage to Liz Walker. I think you can find her online. I know she posts quite a bit on Facebook. She's super active in making art. See how those colors are running down, and the greens that come out of the Quin Gold and the French Ultramarine are super crackly, and they're just separating. They don't play well together, as my friend would say, these colors, but I love that texture, that crackly texture, granulated texture. I have to say it felt really good today to just sit and watch this paint drip down the page. In fact, I did it twice. I did another little one after I did this one, and it just Felt good to not think about what the painting is. And later tonight I will look at the painting while we're watching TV, and I'll think about what it could be. But while I was painting it, I was just mixing these two colors and leaving some whites and you know, the whites of the page, to leave those to shine through, and not thinking of what it could be or what it is. And that was wonderful. So 5 stars to the Jean Haines Paint Yourself Calm book, because it definitely did its job. Check out that color coming on through. Quin Gold has this wonderful way of having a really deep, kind of a rusty color, but also a very, very sunny yellow. I also had an interesting comment the other day from Julien Prévost. This is somebody from France, and he took the time, went to the effort of using Google Translate to turn my English words into French. and that's very is very complimentary that somebody did that. But he mentioned that my work reminds him of Egon Schiele, is a Austrian artist that was born just before the turn of the century and died in the Spanish flu outbreak in Vienna. Anyway, this guy, Egon Schiele, he does a lot of figurative paintings, which is not what Julien was referring to. He said the landscapes is what some of the previous work I've shown on YouTube looks like, the landscapes. And so I'll show you a couple of the landscapes here. I'll split the screen and show you. I think there's one called Autumn, Sun, and Trees. And here's another one called The Setting Sun. These were painted in 1912 and 1913. Anyway, I looked into this guy, and this Egon Schiele, and he was an expressionist. And I didn't know the difference between an impressionist and an expressionist. So if you're the same as me, I'll tell you what it is. The expressionist directly focuses on the emotional response of the artist to the real world, and uses disproportionate sizes, odd angles, and vivid colors. So anyway, that's what an expressionist is instead of an impressionist. So now you can see that color just dripping down onto my towel. I think I'll be doing this again. That was really a good time. In fact, there's another exercise on page 48, 49 of the Jean Haines book, which is called Waterfall, where you just let it run from the top to the bottom. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I can't tell you how good it makes you feel to just sit and watch a couple of colors run together, run down the page and drop onto a piece of paper towel. So if you're needing a little pick-me-up, maybe use reds and yellows instead of blues. Blues, I think, can be a little bit of a downer color, but it felt right for me today to use those blues. By the way, if you're interested in knowing about Impressionists, there is a wonderful documentary by a man named Waldemar Januszczak, and I'll link to it in the description, because my kids and I watched this 4-part series documentary called The Impressionists, Painting and Revolution. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful documentary. One thing that stuck with me is that the Impressionists used pig's bladders to store their paints, because of course they were mixing their own paints. Oh, right there, I'm using a card, like a plastic card, and I'm dragging it through, just like I do with my sticks, just dragging it right through and making a really interesting texture. You have to do this when the paint is wet, but not too wet. In a second, you'll see. There we go. And it forms these really great lights and darks, really great value differences. And it also does a good job of sort of messing up your painting so that you can look at it with new eyes. Because you don't want your painting to be too precious. Otherwise, you're just following a pre-designed pattern or a plan. So this is a pretty easy little project. You just have to have a watercolor paper, maybe a little plastic card, maybe some candles, maybe a yogurt container top to put 2 colors on. Super easy and super relaxing. And now I can spend a day or two looking at it and figuring out what it is. Thanks for joining. See you later. Bye.